Nothing shows pressure like decisions. There's a moment that defines high stakes decision making, and it's not the moment that you think it is. It's not when you're weighing options calmly. It's not when you're reviewing data. It's not when you're explaining your reasoning afterward about why you did what you did. It's the moment that pressure enters the body. I love that moment. It's the moment that the nervous system decides how much of your intelligence, your expertise, your judgment that you actually get access to. We like to imagine that decisions feel hard or they fail because maybe people lacked information or clarity. But in real conditions, time pressure, uncertainty, volatility, responsibility, consequence, standards, decisions usually fail because the nervous system can't bear the internal load that those conditions create. Before we go further, it helps to be honest about this. High stakes decisions are not cognitive events only. They are physiological events that express themselves through cognition. If you've never paid attention to what your body does, the instant that stakes or pressure rises, that's your blind spot. And if you want to find out more around yours, you can take our quiz in the description below. And if you have, you've probably noticed the same few patterns repeating. So your breath tightens or disappears. Your attention might narrow prematurely or you'll get flooded. Muscle tone will spike with tension or collapse. Urgency will start dictating pace, and those aren't personality quirks. They're load-bearing failures, like cracks in the infrastructure. Neurological load is the nervous system's ability to stay organized as pressure increases. So cognition, what you know, remains available to you instead of getting hijacked. When that capacity is missing, decision quality will degrade in very predictable ways. So let's look at how this actually plays out. Imagine with me a leader facing a time-sensitive decision with incomplete information. On paper, they know how to handle this. They've maybe done similar before, but as pressure mounts, their breath will become shallow and their attention will lock onto the most threatening variables only. So options that require patience or nuance, they almost become invisible to them. It's why when we feel pressure and our system isn't calibrated to stay connected in pressure, we lose range of our creativity, our innovation, things that could absolutely alter the game. And when this happens and those other options drop out of awareness, that leader won't consciously choose that kind of narrowing. It'll happen automatically because their nervous system is just trying to reduce load. The decision that comes out of that state is usually reactive. It might look decisive or even confident, but it's being driven by the need to discharge or eliminate pressure, not by the quality of the choice itself. That doesn't mean that that's a failure of intelligence. It's a failure of load bearing. Now, contrast that with someone whose nervous system has been trained to hold pressure. As stakes rise, they feel the same physiological signals, increased arousal, urgency, and intensity. But their system doesn't immediately contract around them. So they'll stay available to their breath. Their attention stays wide enough to include secondary effects. They can feel urge without a rush to obey it. That space, sometimes only a few seconds, is everything. That's where judgment lives. The difference between those two scenarios is not mindset. It's capacity. Neurological load bearing determines whether pressure collapses decision-making or it sharpens it. This is where people often misunderstand what it means to be good under pressure. They assume that it means feeling less, being more confident, being calmer, being detached. But in reality, it means being able to feel more without losing organization. Pressure increases signal, it upregulates. It amplifies sensations, emotions, urgency. If the nervous system can bear that amplification, then decision-making improves. If it can't, the system will narrow in self-protection. And this will show up in very specific decision patterns. Low load-bearing capacity will often produce premature decisions, just to end discomfort. Over-reliance on familiar options, even when they're suboptimal. Difficulty holding competing variables simultaneously and finding out what's most important. Excessive certainty that is masking internal collapse. High load-bearing capacity produces something very different. The ability to pause without freezing. Willingness to tolerate ambiguity longer. Access to second-order consequences. Decisions that feel slower but land cleaner, and honestly, when we look back, probably came swifter. None of that is philosophical, it's biological. When the nervous system can stay organized under load, the prefrontal cortex remains online. When it can't, threat physiology takes over, we move into the amygdala and then the systems underneath. And no amount of training in logic or strategy will override that. This is why so many capable people make baffling decisions under pressure, and then they can't explain them afterwards. From the outside, it looks irrational. From the inside, it felt necessary. The system was overloaded. Neurological load-bearing is built the same way any load-bearing structure is built. Gradual exposure to stress that challenges capacity without exceeding it, followed by recovery that actually clears the load, not just pausing it to pick up later. Practically, this means training the body to stay coherent while intensity is present. It means breath practices that don't just calm, but teach the system to remain available as internal pressure rises. Physical training that organizes structure under load instead of avoiding it. Attention training that resists tunneling when stakes increase. Over time, the nervous system learns something critical. Pressure does not require collapse. That learning shows up directly in decision making. People with load-bearing capacity don't necessarily feel confident. What they feel is room. Room to sense, room to weigh, room to choose. They're not rushing to relieve discomfort, so they can afford to be more accurate. This is also where the substrate in our new release, Becoming the Grand Formidable, quietly does its work. Architecture precedes awareness. If the system can't bear load, awareness becomes unreliable. You can't trust what you perceive when pressure is already distorting the field. Our principle, bring the weather, that I've talked about in other videos, it lives here. When your nervous system can bear its own load, you'll stop outsourcing stability to the environment. You don't let urgency set the pace. You don't let other people's anxiety compress your options. You don't let the moment decide for you. You supply coherence instead of borrowing it. This is also why inside the Prestige, our Somatic Academy, decision-making is never talked about abstractly. We train it. It's trained under pressure, time constraints, creative simulators, relational stakes, unclear outcomes, because that's the only place where neurological load-bearing actually reveals itself. The goal isn't to eliminate stress from decisions. The goal is to strengthen the system underneath that must carry it. If your decisions deteriorate under pressure, that's not a character flaw. It's a signal. You don't need better thinking. Your nervous system needs to become more conditioned. When load bearing is present, pressure stops being the enemy of good decisions. It becomes the condition that proves them. If this sounds resonant with you, consider joining us for a season. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining. It means a lot. Please do like and subscribe. It helps the channel out. And I will see you next time.